Here's a question for longtime Gran Turismo players, one that transitioned nicely from Gran Turismo 3 to 4 as children. What car from Gran Turismo 3 surprised you after finding out that it didn't get carried over to Gran Turismo 4 the most? I can think of a few highlight cars for most people, but for me, it's actually this car, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 7 rally car. That was such a memorable car to me back then, although it's more so due to the inherent rival for the Subaru Impreza rally car, which I loved as a kid. Gran Turismo 3 was a big highlight for race cars for me, mainly due to having the most condensed and distinct rivalries on account of the comparatively small car list in the series. Viper GTSR vs Corvette C5R, Toyota GT1 vs Nissan R390 vs Mazda 787B, Castrol Supra vs Pennzoil GTR vs Mugen NSX, Opel Astra vs Mercedes CLK DTM. Those kinds of rivalries stuck in my mind for a long time. Out of all of them, however, Rally was hands down my favorite. We had a section in a Go Race career dedicated solely to rally events, even requiring a rally license to participate. The only time in the series we ever got one. Every race in that section pits you against one AI opponent, and unlike Gran Turismo 2 and 4's interpretation, every course only has one car for all three difficulties of race, each faster and longer than the last, such as this Subaru Impreza prototype on Swiss Alps. It felt like Rally was given so much respect in this game, which made the decrease of importance in later titles hurt more for me personally. The Evo 7 was one of the standout rally cars, and it was clearly a successor to the massively iconic Evo 6 rally car, with that distinctive red and white paint scheme and the Mackinnon striped, as I like to call it. It's the same thing with the Impreza Bug-Eye rally car, resulting in two different eras of rivalry with the late 90s and early 2000s Subaru vs Mitsubishi. And I loved it! It was so cool and iconic. This is why out of all the cars in Gran Turismo 3 that never made a return since, I miss the Evo 7 rally car the most. I'm not even a massive Evo guy, I've always been more of an Impreza kid myself, but I can't deny the significance the Evo brings to one-up each other. Not having this car, yet keeping the Impreza Bug-Eye rally car from GT4 to 6, even including both the prototype and rally versions, it almost feels like Joker without Batman. There's an inherent sadness to it all. So, why was the Evo 7 rally car cut? Both this prototype and a finalized rally car from Gran Turismo Concept? I honestly don't know. The only logical reason I can find is that in real life, this was unsuccessful in a WRC, retiring 3 of 4 races in its only season, and that Mitsubishi likely wouldn't want their failure to be associated in racing games since. If that's the case, I can sympathize with Mitsubishi, but at the same time, that didn't stop cars like the Toyota Minolta or Chaparral 2J from appearing in Gran Turismo 4. Both cars were largely unsuccessful in their respective races, and yet are two of the most popular cars in Gran Turismo. Failures are as significant to be preserved as successes, whether we like it or not. I guarantee that even though it's mostly a follow-up to the more iconic Evo 6 rally car, that the Evo 7 would still be loved and remembered for many more GT fans. I mean, that livery is just too iconic to be ignored. Okay, with that long-winded rant out of the way, let's get into actually reviewing this car in the only game it's actually featured in. Let's start with attainability. There's 2 events you can win this, and thankfully, both are guaranteed. The 4-wheel drive challenge in Professional and Rally of the Alps 2. This makes it one of only 2 rally cars in the game you can win twice. The other being, funnily enough, the Evo 6 rally car. Now for me personally, I usually like to keep one of every car in my Gran Turismo 3 garage, especially when that car is available to drive in arcade mode, so I just sell the other Evo when I obtain it, which is usually the 4-wheel drive challenge one. Doing that race first is still an option though, say with the Mitsubishi FTO LM I talked about last time, and you can use that to compete in all of the rally events quite handily, especially with level 2 turbo and an oil change which bumps the horsepower output from 301 to 478. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the most out of all the level 2 turbo rally cars in the game. I see level 2 turbo because Rather stupidly, a few rally cars can actually be equipped with a level 3 turbo to bump the horsepower to over 500. Both Ford rally cars and the Subaru Impreza prototype. Now, ultimately, horsepower wars in Rally World of GT3 isn't all that significant because of this Goliath here. But it still feels like there's a bit of bias in Subaru's favor, with not just being the one of the lucky few to have the better turbo, but also being carried over to GT4. I must admit though, even though the Subaru is a lot easier to win the rally events with, Rally is one of the few times in GT3 where I prefer my races to be closer than usual. The races don't take overly long to complete, and like I said, there's just something so wonderful about the rivalry aspect in this class of racing. My favorite rally car in GT3 for instance is a Citroen Zara, but it's also by far the worst one in the game, not just because it's front wheel drive, although that does make it busted in FF challenges, but it doesn't reach the 400 horsepower with a level 2 turbo, and thus makes some rally events near impossible. Now, rally events are the main source of usage you'll get the Evo 7 rally car out of, but this is also, unsurprisingly, the best or second best car to use in both Evolution meetings in beginner and amateur. And there's nothing stopping you from using dirt-focused race cars on other tarmac events. That's part of why I love the Zara in this game, and that's also part of why the Evo 7 is a great choice for out-of-the-box, non-linear playthroughs of Gran Turismo 3. It may not be the best rally car in the game, but it's worth going back to Gran Turismo 3 to shed spotlight on it. I don't expect this car to return at all, but I still miss it regardless. All the more reason why I'm glad I still play on my PlayStation 2. But that's going to be it for now. I'll see you guys next time with a less obvious car to not make the return. Adios.